everyone? This is Max, Soundspace Sessions. I'm here with Bishop LaVey. I'm going to ask him a few questions, kind of get to know more about the music. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Hey, there you go.
All right.
Welcome. So, growing up, where did you kind of grow up in, like, the area for your life?
Yeah, early life, we moved around a lot. I was born and raised in Vermont.
Okay.
Randolph was like where I grew up. I think I was there from third grade on to graduation of high school.
Okay.
Yep.
Where do you currently reside now?
I live in Waterbury.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
So just up the road a little bit on 89.
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes.
That's not bad. As you grew up, when did music kind of come in your life as an influence?
I think it always was influential, but I was gifted when I was a kid a drum set for Christmas, I remember. And I can't remember how old I was, but it was like before I was 10. So sometime before then, but not before 5.
Okay.
And I was given a bunch of rock and early metal albums to go along with it. My older brother was really influential with that. He gave me a stack of burned CDs, most of which I didn't learn to appreciate till I was an adult, like Primus and Incubus and stuff like that.
Oh, wow, yeah. And so the drum set was your first instrument. Was there any other ones you kind of have mastered over the years?
I mean, of course I play the guitar.
Okay.
I play a little piano, but I would still call myself a novice. But my favorite instrument is definitely the bass. I love playing bass.
Okay. Is that what you primarily do now?
No. I, of course, have the Bishop LaVey project, and I'm three full albums deep, and a bunch of singles and EPs, and that's folk. It's Doom Folk.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. What led you to start the project that you have overall going on?
I was living out in San Diego for a couple years, and I was playing like acoustic punk on the folk side. And when I moved back home, I didn't want to play the same songs over and over and over and over again that I didn't really even kind of enjoy playing. But I wanted to write like a concept record that was like a super dark folk album. And I named it Bishop LaVey, and I put out that first record. And it wasn't folk, it just kind of aired on the side of like, it was like folk punk, but not in the classic sense, not like Days and Days or anything. Mm-hmm. It was more punk rock music with a folk vibe. And then I really liked writing the songs so much that I just kind of adopted it as a stage name and have put out music as Bishop LaVey since.
It's pretty interesting because it seems like maybe a lot of your musical influences growing up led to maybe the sound that you have now.
Definitely.
It's quite a hybrid.
Right. And I grew up on rock and metal and punk. Hip-hop was never a huge influence. I love hip-hop now, but it was never a huge influence as a kid. But Black Sabbath, I got my first Black Sabbath record when I was like 8.
Wow.
And metal, like that style, what is considered now as stoner metal, is really my jive. Anytime I want to be in a band, people are like, let's play hardcore. I'm like, let's just play Clutch covers.
And that's just kind of what you're rolling into? Yeah. It seems like so it sounds like with Bishop LaVey, is that more of a solo project? Or?
It is entirely a solo project. I've had people help me in the studio in the past, but I also record, mix, and master my own records in my own studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is there any collaborations you ever do on a group element with that also?
I had a collaboration on my first record with this woman named Hillary Leiker from Randolph. She was a good friend of family member of my producer at the time.
Okay.
She's very talented, got a very good voice, but I haven't worked with anybody on a song since.
Okay. When you go into working on a project or an album, like you were talking about maybe some of the influences from like folk, but also like that metal sense. Is there any sort of way you arrange a project and how you layer the songs and what you're feeling emotionally?
A lot of the times for the early bits of the project, I tried not to get emotional, even on going into my first full length, which was released in February of 2019. That was super, super dark, but it was like it was a concept album about the apocalypse, and I wanted to write folk songs, but like someone who listens to metal writes folk songs.
Right.
And then there's one song, the last song called Calling Us Back Home on that record, that was like, all right, well, I want to go the reverse of that. And I want to write a metal song the way someone who listens to folk would write a metal song.
You know, it's pretty fascinating because, like, with that, you have something that's very organic and folk, maybe with, like, the acoustics and stuff, but using maybe, like, arrangements and things that are more of, like, a higher production that isn't, like, metal music or any sort of rock.
Yeah, I mean, my peers in the folk scene, especially in Vermont, we don't sound the same, kind of. Which is why I made the determination, because most of my music has like metal themes that you would hear a lot in metal music, and I shout into a microphone and yell.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it a different title. It's folk music, but it's not folk music. So I called it Doom Folk, and it turns out that was already a genre, and I don't sound like that either. But
But it's cool that you were willing to, instead of maybe like stay in a certain lane, you're willing to kind of like push some boundaries and actually kind of create a unique sound for yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to create like a full, because hiring a band is expensive. I'm not gonna, I won't beat around the bush, but I wanted to sound like a full band, but just by myself.
Wow.
So
yeah.
that's where I really brought on the shouting and the like Tom Waits-esque guttural like singing and the pounding on the guitar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to kind of bring that, like, a sound that's sort of, like you said, a little bigger than maybe just one person, but yet be that intimate experience too.
Right.
As far as, like, performing at venues and stuff locally, how long have you been doing that part for? Like, in the state or even northeast?
Before I moved out west, I was in a band. We performed at open mics and stuff like that. And then when I was in high school, I was in a band. We also performed at open mics. It wasn't until I moved out west where I played like a show. I actually got booked at a show. That wasn't until I was 21. But I've been playing music with other people and for other people since I was a teenager.
Now, is there any certain shows or venues that you've been at that are more memorable to you that you remember over the years?
I love playing at Charlie O's in Montpelier. I never get the best crowd, but they're, and they'll let you know if they didn't like the song you just played. There'll be no applause.
Yeah.
You'll like finish and you'll be like, that was, whoo! You like wipe off your brow and it's crickets.
I've heard that place is kind of the stuff of legends a little bit.
Yeah, and but if you are killing it, everybody at the bar shifts and looks at you. And people stop playing pool and look at you. And that's how you know you've written a good, like if you're testing out new songs, that's the venue to do it. Because the crowd is going to tell you whether the song is absolute shit or they love it.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now with the transition, with obviously everything going on in the world.
Right.
How is this kind of experience doing it, via digitally how's the experience been overall for you?
Well, so it started off okay. Everyone knew that we weren't going to have shows for, a couple months. Everyone thought it was just going to be a couple months. And we all switched to live streams. And I was part of a live stream festival, and I live stream myself, along with doing the radio show that I do with the Radiator. And over the weeks since COVID started to now, the viewership has just dropped. And I'm not the only one who has experienced that, but people just don't want to watch live streams anymore. It's like you're watching it on your phone. You're already sitting on your couch watching something else, and you're going to be supportive. You're going to watch it for 30 seconds, minute. You're like, oh yeah, killing it. And you comment, killing it, thumbs up. And then you just hang up, throw the phone, and go back to doing whatever you're doing. It's not like a concert. It's not like playing a show, which is what that's the hardest part, is like, you're now experiencing less, like even if you're a small-time artist who only has 10, 15 people in the crowd, you're having even less now in live stream, even if you have more followers on Instagram or whatever.
It's just the numbers breaking down, right? Like the engagement numbers.
Yeah, you can literally look at your crowd and you can watch it dwindle.
And that's a hard feeling.
Yeah.
I've done some shows myself, like talk shows, and you can sort of live and die by what pings in for that streaming. And it is, I think also too, there's such a saturation of people doing the live streams.
Right, because it's not just the underground artists anymore, people testing out their songs. It's everyone.
Right.
But everyone from me to like Thomas Gunn, who's a friend of mine, who's a performer, we perform together a lot, who does a live stream, all the way to Metallica. Everybody's doing live streams.
Exactly.
And more people are going to watch the Metallica live stream or the Frank Turner live stream than they're going to watch any of this.
They'll try their best.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to be supportive, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie. If I was live streaming, if I was someone else and I was live streaming and Frank Turner was live streaming at the same time, I'm gonna watch Frank Turner.
Yeah, I mean, what makes it cool though is I feel like in this environment, it's kind of like unedited. Like you can just sort of do what you would normally do,
Right.
and you have people committed that want to actually experience that, and it's not like cluttered with all this other noise that is out
Right.
there in the digital world right now. To circle back, because you talked about something pretty cool. You said you have a radio show.
I do.
Kind of dive into that. What's
I
the concept there?
have, as of the start of the virus, and we were all retreating in behind closed doors. I was doing a live stream, and Jim Lockridge at Big Heavy World was like, "Can I put it out on the radio while you do this live stream?" I was like, "Yeah, totally, cool." They did that, and then we got to talking, and he asked me if I wanted to host a 1-hour radio show every Wednesday, and I agreed because I was
Wow.
like, "Well, I can't have guests right now, but I can do to me, it's like doing a show a week at least. You know, I'm not getting paid. I don't know how many people are watching, but it's going out."
Yeah.
And so it's called Isolation Sessions with Bishop LaVey. It's actually coming out of my studio. We use a program where I can send it from my studio to their studio, and then through the antenna or however they broadcast their radio signal.
So they have it's like a terrestrial, like a traditional radio station, but then is there also like a digital side to it, or is that something you're not sure on?
I've been in their studio a number of times, and I've played on other people's shows on the Radiator.
Right.
But from my standpoint, in my studio, I just use this program and I hit connect, and then I'm live on my live streams, and that's all I really know how. I don't really know how it works.
It just like magically happens.
Yeah.
And that's pretty neat because that kind of gives you another platform to kind of
Right.
put expression out there.
I'm hoping when this boils over, that I can get people into the studio to perform on the show instead of just me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then have like like you said, experimenting, like have those open discussions,
Right.
musically perform. What you have kind of going on in the future? Obviously, it's so hard to tell with everything going on.
Right.
But what's certain things you have in mind for future projects, or even just personally?
Well, I've just released 2 new singles. And I guess I could have waited and done a couple more tracks and then put out an EP. But I got nothing going on.
Yeah.
So so I record a song and I put it out. I record a song and I put it out. Because I don't have to, I have no deadlines. I have no shows coming up where I should be like, all right, I'm going to hold these songs back until this EP comes out. Mm-hmm. I don't have any shows. I don't have any shows going on. I've got the radio show, but I've been performing the songs on those radio shows. So
Yeah.
what I was planning on doing is putting together I've already done a playlist on YouTube, but I want to compile a best of first 2 years of Bishop LaVey album that boils down everything, all the records that I put out in those first 2 years to 3 songs per record and call it a best of. And, so that people aren't listening to one of my records and be like, I hate this song, skip. And it's just all songs that I know people won't skip.
Yeah. Hey, give people what they want.
Yeah.
Kind of like a final thought before we kind of get to the tail end here. What's sort of the feedback you have on kind of the instantaneous, putting the projects out from fans?
I don't really consider my listeners fans. Most of them are my friends.
Okay.
I definitely have more listeners than I have friends, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
But the reaction to the 2 new singles from my compatriots in the music scene, especially Montpelier Way, were really positive on these last 2 records, or on these last 2 singles. So that's good. I got another song that I got to go into the studio with tomorrow.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And it's not really as Doom Folk. It's more I guess I would say Elliott Smith meets Candlemass.
But
that's what I got going on outside of the radio show.
Hey, that's awesome. If people want to learn more about you, your music, everything involving your world, how can they find you?
You can find me on Bandcamp. It's bishoplavey.bandcamp.com. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/archbishoplavey. You can go find me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active on Instagram because it's so easy. Mm-hmm. And that's, if you go on Instagram, you just search bishop.lavey, you'll find me and everything I'm doing every day, because everything's a story now.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Bishop, thank you so much. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure having you on here. And thank you guys for watching this channel. Make sure you support us on Patreon. And I hope you guys have a great day.
What has happened?